Ahead of its announcement, the Vampire Coast would come up occasionally in Total War fans' speculation about the next DLC for Warhammer 2, but often with pretty limited enthusiasm. Vampires and the undead are already pretty well represented in the game, after all. But as the memes on the subreddit will attest, with that brilliant Vampire Coast reveal trailer changed the narrative from ugh, more vampires to hell yeah, more vampires. And maybe it's the sun glinting brightly off its hull, but to my mind, one star in that trailer shone more brightly than all the rest: the Necrofex Colossus. A terrifying, towering construct made of pirate shipwrecks and corpses. It may be made of wood, but it's the most metal unit in the game so far. And that's why, when we got the chance to discuss the Vampire Coast with Creative Assembly, the origins of the Necrofex Colossus were utmost in our minds.
Things that we always do is kind of really go deep into the lore, and very early on we always know that we want to get these these big units that are kind of crazy to look at and big fancy kind of things. It was in the Monstros Arcanum, that was the primary source, I think. And then it's also mentioned kind of elsewhere. I think there was a White Dwarf magazine that had a little mention of it, and then there might have been some army books. I think the Lizardmen one might have mentioned it a little bit as well. So there's lots of little tidbits here and there that we kind of all pulled together, just to get kind of one kind of overall vision, I guess.
Right, and what at a conceptual level then, what were sort of the linchpins of your vision? Like, what are the key words that sort of set out or describe a Necrofex Colossus?
Intimidating, probably. Yeah, kind of, obviously he's massive firepower, like a big cannon on his arm. And it's kind of, we wanted this thing to do something that kind of other units haven't done before, so he's sort of like an artillery piece. You'll have him kind of on your front line, he'll start firing with his cannon, and then not only that, could he just then walk in and kind of keep firing, and then when he gets into melee, he can do kind of crazy melee damage as well, so he can kind of do a bit of everything.
Intimidating, though, is an odd word to describe something so memeable and, in a certain light at least, comic. Maybe you disagree, I don't know, let me know in the comments. I don't know if everyone sees what I see here, but come on, it's a walking ship. It's a transformer made of rotting wood. And I don't know what Michael Bay was going for in those films, but if it was to make me take Transformers seriously, it failed. The Necrofex Colossus is big and scary and powerful, yes, but it's also bizarre and absurd and hilarious. And yet in the lore, it's really dark. Its wood is fused with dead bodies, which are then animated by living bodies in a massive sacrifice that, gives it its impetus. And you can actually see those in the game, the corpses clawing their way out of the chest piece in the Colossus, which again is a giant ship, which brings us back to bizarre. Is it me, or is there a tonal disconnect here?
I think with Warhammer, you can kind of draw some tongue-in-cheek kind of things with a lot of the monsters, but no, this guy, I think, not only if you kind of zoom in on him does he kind of look grotesque and a bit intimidating, but yeah, also he kind of backs that up in the battle. So I think when you're a player playing against him or playing with him, you always get that sense of kind of either intimidation or just kind of raw power. So yeah, I don't think people will ever kind of take him too lightly, basically.
So how does one go about this? This sketch in the Monstrous Arcanum is evocative, yes, but not exactly precise. How does an artist go about making a fully posable rig from something so messy? And having done so, how should it move?
At the first we had the proxy, they just told us, yeah, it's gonna be like a giant mess with like this all broken. And we were like, okay, fair enough, like we're gonna try. And he had a peg leg, so we had to find reference of stuff that walk a bit in a broken way with a peg leg, and we're like, oh, what is this? And then we had the final model and it just looked amazing, and so we actually managed to make it look a bit like broken, but still quite human, because well, it has 2 legs, 2 arms and a head, so yeah, they had like a gun, and well, that sounds cool. But we made like a lot of sketches that we thought, oh, that would be cool, because like the animator was like, oh, I can take the peg leg and smash people with it, and it just actually didn't work in game. We were like, oh.
That's good.
So it was like a lot of tests to have something kind of working.
So a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
But as we learned in the making of the Hell Pit Abomination, one of our earlier videos, which you can see in the description box below, a rig that looks sensible when static can take a turn for the absurd when put into motion. The Necrofex, with all its spiky pieces of wood jutting out at odd angles, seems especially prone to clipping bits of itself into other bits of itself, and as it turned out, adding a gun, which you'll notice the original Monstrous Arcanum sketch does not have, exacerbated these problems.
It was complicated because he had so many bits everywhere, and even the arms were the most problematic because he had like bits of wood going there, and when he was rotating to reload the gun, he was going through the arms all the time, so we had to work a lot with the character art team so they would fix while we are animating.
We've seen enchanted undead constructs before, of course, in the Tomb Kings, but the Necrofex Colossus is different in so many ways. Construction material, craftsmanship, armament, personality. Where your Necrosphinxes and Hierotitans are all efficient animal power in their attack animations, and they barely move, to be honest, in their idle animations, the Necrofex is rather less stoic.
We wanted some drama with him, so he had some big reloading thing, he had some recoil, the super big one, like when he's moving or shooting, like everybody has to know about it on the battlefield. It's like, this guy is doing something, and it's a lot about drama.
Very theatrical.
Yes, but in the character, it's so easy to make him like super... The Tomb Kings, when we started, we're like, okay, they all have to be statues, and that was the main thing. It's like, just how are they gonna work like stones? But those ones are more like, they're zombie pirates, giant boat things. So just do crazy stuff, they have to look super cool, and they just have to move a lot and be broken, and just like, it was way more freedom than Tomb Kings, where they just have to be like...
Yeah, they're very rigid.
Yeah.
The Necrofex is a seriously powerful unit. Its range is shorter than fixed artillery, true, but it is closer to a cannon than it is to most archers. Add to this its ability to move and shoot, and few enemies are ever actually safe from its guns, and it's no slouch in melee either. It's this ability to do a lot of things well without excelling in any of them that defines its place in the Vampire Coast roster. The army was intended to be artillery heavy from the start, which explains where the Necrofex got its guns, but having made that decision, it was tricky to further hone its role.
I guess trying to find a role for him in a roster that is so heavily gun orientated, you really need to kind of distinguish something that is essentially a large gun. So yeah, it was kind of difficult to find a role for him that was different to something like the Carronade or the Mortar, or kind of the other large monsters like the Leviathan. You really need to find a niche for him, but I do think we did that. Its kind of raw damage output in the battle is kind of, yeah, greater than probably any other monster. And you can not only kind of fire from your kind of front line, but then you can kind of walk towards the enemy, and then when you get there, then he's still kind of viable in combat. It's not a situation where he's really not viable. And although he does have counters, yeah, he's kind of one of the most viable monsters I think we've done so far.
Again, we've seen shooting monsters before as well, like the Beastman Cygor, but the Necrofex differs in one crucial respect, that it can fire while moving.
Going by our experience with previous units, such as the Cygor, we found a lot of frustration in the sort of whole stop-start sort of gameplay that he promotes, where, you know, something will be running away, the Cygor will be pursuing, and then he'll try and aim and throw, but then the thing is out of range. Right. So having him just moving and firing just felt a lot more seamless and a bit more sort of smooth, and yeah, it does increase his power because it means that his threat range is a lot greater than things like a Cygor.
My Necrofex Colossi would often rack up over 200 kills per battle, and having stumbled once at the final battle of the campaign, I brought 6 along with me when tailoring an army for the second attempt. After that, I won handily, but we shouldn't say it's overpowered, right?
No, it's not overpowered.
Didn't think so. So how do we counter it?
He's got his own weaknesses. He does in melee, and even at a range, he's got a decent amount of health, but his armor is pretty poor. So you can quite easily sort of burn him down quite quickly if you can catch him, and that sort of plays into the gameplay of the Vampire Coast, where they are able to sort of like block you from getting next to him. And also there's the abandoned ship ability, which is something that we've added for this unit, whereby when he goes below a certain threshold of health, he'll basically expel zombies from his hull as a defensive mechanism. So this allows you to sort of put literally a wall of zombies between you and your enemy, keep you sort of alive and able to escape from that sort of situation. So he's got a couple of tools to escape, but if you catch him in melee, then that's not where he wants to be. He wants to be shooting from a range, typically.
He performed really, really well in melee, but I suppose it'll just be because I was fighting the right unit, right?
Yeah.
Like if I was fighting anti-large.
Yeah, exactly. If something anti-large comes along, or something armor piercing comes along, then you're going to be, trading ineffectively. So you're going to be killing off units not for much return, essentially.
So that would be your advice to anyone who wants to counter Necrofex?
Yes, definitely. Sort of get them in close combat, take the cannons, but at the same time understand that you're going to be burning down a very valuable unit that's quite expensive. So.
And there we are, a nice breakdown of the conception and design of the Necrofex Colossus, with our thanks to the developers at Creative Assembly. Did you like that? If so, give us a commensurate like rating and subscribe to PCGamesN. We've got plenty more PC gaming content and at least one more Vampire Coast making of video to celebrate the latest release coming live in the next couple of weeks. We hope to see you then, and until then, thanks very much for watching and take care.